Hello everyone, this is Pooka, and we have a brand new set out for the Pokemon TCG, Phantom Forces. So, as I always like to do with the new sets, we are going to go through all of the scans here on PokeBeach.com, and I'm going to pick out the cards that I feel are the best in this set. Ones that I feel have some potential, might not be great right off the bat, but there's definitely something there. And then just some plain old interesting or pretty looking cards that will round out this set review. So I'm just going to jump right into it. There are a lot of cards that are being pretty hyped out of this set. I think the most obvious one we're going to look at here are the metal Pokemon. So Electric for a very long time was extremely good with that Dynamotor ability, and now Bronzong has that for metal Pokemon. Metal Links allows you to take a metal energy out of your discard pile, attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. Pretty simple. It's like Dynamotor for metal. You can just take chunks of metal and throw them on to your benched Pokemon. All right, so that's about it. That's all he's going to do. He's going to sit there on your bench and get energy into play. And that's a very valuable asset to have for your deck. All right, so the downsides to Bronzong. Number 1, 90 HP. Not very good. Right? It's very similar to Electric in that way. Very easy to knock out. Perhaps the worst stat on it, though, is the retreat cost. It is 3. That is huge. That is 1 bigger than Electric's 2 retreat cost. Man, 3 is a real bummer. You know, if someone brings it up with a Lysander or a Pokemon catcher, you're going to need a switch or a floatstone to set it back onto the bench. And, you know, if like a Seismitoad EX were to Lysander out your Bronzong, oh man, that would be ugly. Quaking Punch pretty much means it's stuck there. So you are going to need to run a lot of ways to switch Bronzong out of the active spot if you want to play this guy. Now, fortunately, there are lots of reasons to play this Bronzong. First one's going to be Dialga EX. So Dialga EX has 2 fairly strong attacks. First one is Chrono Wind, 60 damage, and then if the defending Pokemon is a Pokemon EX, it can't attack during your opponent's next turn. I don't like this attack too much. It's very easy to get out of that effect, right? You just play a switch and retreat. Or if you play Keldeo EX, you can rush in and retreat. And then voila, the Pokemon can attack again. The attack I like much more is Full Metal Impact. Sounds very powerful. Full Metal Impact, 150 damage, and then discard 2 metal energy attached to this Pokemon. So if we're going to throw a Muscle Band on Dialga EX, it's plus 20. That means he's hitting for 170, and that's pretty good. That knocks out a lot of popular Pokemon EX. If you want to do the extra 10 damage, you could throw in some Hypnotoxic lasers as well. But 170 is going to get the job done against a lot of Pokemon. And of course, you do have to discard the 2 metal energy attached to Dialga EX. But of course, that's why you pair him with Bronzong. You get the energy right back. Pretty obvious synergy there. Now, Dialga EX is the first obvious partner for Bronzong. Number 2 is going to be Aegislash EX. Aegislash has a very unique ability. Mighty Shield. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from each of your opponent's Pokemon that has any special energy attached to it. Wow. So think about how many decks play special energy. Almost all of them, right? A Team Plasma deck would be completely shut down by this one card since they run almost all special energy. Virizion Genesect runs Plasma Energy. Fighting decks run Strong Energy. Lots of decks run Double Colorless Energy, so on and so on. This is a very powerful ability to have, and it can really shut down decks. Now it also has Slash Blast, does 40 plus 20 for each metal energy. Very similar to Keldeo EX's Secret Sword, 10 less damage though. That's actually pretty relevant. Since if we Secret Sword with a Keldeo EX with 6 water on it, it does 170. With Aegislash EX, if you have 6 metal on it, only 160. Now you will be able to use Muscle Band, but it is worth noting that you'll need that extra energy to get knockouts. That 10 damage does make a difference, but still a very solid attack. It'll do 100 for 3, and it'll block a lot of damage on its way because of Mighty Shield. So these 3 cards obviously are meant to go together. Bronzong, though, can be very versatile. Metal Energy can go to any Pokemon. It doesn't have to go on to the Metal-type Pokemon. So anything that has a colorless attack cost, we could power this up with Bronzong, and then, you never know, you could throw all sorts of stuff in with the Big Bell. Alright, so there is a trainer card as well that's going to help out this kind of a deck. Steel Shelter. Each Metal Pokemon can't be affected by any special conditions. So we see Burbank City Gym as a default stadium for a lot of decks, since Burbank and Laser, very powerful combo. Steel Shelter is a great counter to that. Steel Shelter blocks special conditions completely on your Metal Pokemon. It's a really cool card, and it's very nifty since it is a stadium card. We can use it against Seismitoad EX and take away a lot of its power, since most of its strength does come from the poison damage from Hypnotoxic Laser. So Steel Shelter, a great stadium card. I think this is one of the best cards, balanced cards they've released in a long time. It's type specific, really cool. Alright, so first thing I wanted to look at was the Metal Pokemon. Seems like sometimes Pokemon just puts a lot of cards in a set and says, hey, build this deck. And that's exactly what they did with these Metal Pokemon. Okay, next up on the list, we're going to take a look at some Mega Pokemon. Now, you might be thinking, what, Pooka? Mega Pokemon are terrible. Look at them. They end your turn when you Mega Evolve. And I would agree with you most of the time. But there are some cool new cards coming out called the Spirit Links. So, you can attach this tool to your Gengar EX, and then when you Mega Evolve, your turn does not end. It's a miracle. We can Mega Evolve without losing a turn. So, that makes these Mega Pokemon much more viable than all the other ones that were printed before them. So let's take a look at Gengar and Mega Gengar real quick. Gengar EX on the left here, not a bad Pokemon by any means. Put 3 damage counters for 1 energy. And then Dark Corridor, 60, Poison, and then you get to switch. So very similar to Donphan's Spitting Turn, but Poison instead of, having the benefit of strong energy. This could actually be a decent concept in itself, but it may just be a worse version of Donphan. The Mega Gengar EX, kind of a cool attack, Phantom Gate. You just get to use one of your opponent's Pokemon's attacks. Now, the one big thing that'll hold these guys back is the pesky weakness to darkness. As you all know, Yveltal EX is one of the most popular cards in the game right now, and as long as that is true, it's going to be tough to use Mega Gengar or regular Gengar in competitive play, since if you have just, like 2 energy on a Gengar, an Evil Ball knocks you out. Yes, let that sink in. If you have 2 energy on one of these, on a Gengar EX, just 2 energy on an Yveltal EX, that's an Evil Ball for 100 times 2. I guess they would need a 3rd energy or a Muscle Band to knock out your Mega Gengar, but the point still stands. It is very easy to knock these things out. So, if we can find a way to deal with Yveltal EX, or if people decide to stop playing it, then Mega Gengar could be good, but until then, it's going to be really difficult to use. Now, our other Pokemon is going to be Manectric. Also has one of these nifty Spirit Link cards, wherever it is. The Manectric Spirit Link, same concept. You don't lose your turn when you Mega Evolve, if you have that tool attached to your Manectric EX. And I actually like this one a lot better. Manectric EX Overrun does 20 and 22 bench Pokemon for a single energy. And then Assault Laser does 60 plus 60 if your opponent has a Pokemon tool attached to the active Pokemon. So that's a very good Yveltal EX counter. Most of them have Muscle Band attached. Just go ahead and Assault Laser. That's a 2 energy, 1-hit knockout. And then I actually love Mega Manectric EX. 210 HP, not a lot, but that's okay, because he does 110 damage for 2 energy, and then you get 2 energy out of your discard pile, basic energy, and attach them to one of your benched Pokemon. That is incredibly strong. 110 for 2, and then you get to take 2 basic energy and power up another Pokemon. This is basically like Thundurus EX with that Ride Knuckle attack, but it does a lot more damage, and it can power up any Pokemon, not just Team Plasma. So, just in a vacuum, Mega Manectric is a very good card. Unfortunately, the weakness, once again. So fighting decks are very popular, namely Donphan, and boy, fighting is a bad, bad weakness to have. Just think about facing a Donphan deck, a strong energy, and then a fighting stadium, and a silver bangle, and all of a sudden, that Donphan is knocking you out for a single energy, your Mega Pokemon. So, as long as Donphan is popular, Mega Manectric can't really have a deck built around it. Now, this may see play as, kind of a tech card, or, just like a sidekick. I could definitely see that a nice support Pokemon, since its attack is really good, but Donphan definitely keeps it from being super playable. That fighting weakness really, really gets it. Let's take a look at some of the other Pokemon EX in this set as well. And it's a kind of a strange set in that almost all of them are playable. There are always a few exceptions, though. First one is going to be Malamar EX. Now, this is a really fun card. Hyper Hypnosis, when you attach an energy from your hand to Malamar EX, your opponent's Pokemon goes to sleep. That's pretty cool. I'm sure there's some way to use that. You could use it with Ninetales, or you can just use it to put something to sleep. That's fine. And then the attack, Maximar. We've seen this attack with Darmanitan, Darmaxitin, and then Vanillix, Chill Max. Same thing. Flip a coin for each energy, and 60 times the number of heads. Now, this is going to make for some good Bad Deck Monday stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun, just going Maximar, flipping a bunch of coins, and it is going to be fun, but I don't see this being very competitive. Again, the weakness to fighting is really bad. So, Malamar EX could have some potential at some point, but right now I just don't see it. And then the last Pokemon EX in the set is going to be Florges. And this is just not a very good Pokemon. I am sorry. 160 HP. Lead. This is not an attack you want to be using with a Pokemon EX that gives up 2 prizes. I mean, you get to search for a supporter. Great. This attack was on a Statler a long time ago, which was a non-EX. And it attacked for, it might have actually been 0 energy. From Mysterious Treasures or something like that. It might have been a 0 energy attack to search for a supporter just a couple years ago. So the fact that it costs a fairy energy on a Pokemon EX to search for a supporter card is not good. Let's just get that out of the way. Bright Garden, also not good. 20 times the number of grass and fairy Pokemon you have in play, so it maxes out at 120 damage. I mean, 120 for 2 isn't particularly bad, but on a 160 HP Pokemon, I just don't see it. And you need to have a full field of just fairy and grass Pokemon. So, I don't see Florges being great, but it's there. Alright, so those are all the Pokemon EX in this set. There are some good ones in there, but there's always got to be that one Florges of the set. Alright, now let's take a look at the trainer cards. There are a lot of them. There are a lot of good ones. We're just going to go in order, and starting off with Az. I think that's how you say him. A-Z, Az. Okay. Just put a Pokemon into your hand. Pretty cool. You do have to discard all the attached cards, so there is that downside. But, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Just pick up one of your Pokemon. Put it into your hand. This is much like the base set Scoop Up, but I think you get to keep the evolutions with this one. Base set Scoop Up, you would only take the basic Pokemon. But yeah, this is an alternative to something like Max Potion. It's an alternative to Cassius, which isn't really played much. So I'm not sure how much this card will get played, but you never know. Supporter-based effects are becoming much more powerful, much more viable with Seismitoad EX shutting off items with that Quaking Punch attack. So we have that as our first trainer card. Then we have an interesting Battle Compressor. Search your deck for up to 3 cards and discard them. That's a very unique effect. We don't see this kind of card very often. I'm actually really happy we have some more unique effects in the game right now. Battle Compressor is a cool concept, and there are actually some decks that can use it pretty well. We'll get to that a little later, but Battle Compressor, I do like that that card was printed. We also have Dimension Valley, an interesting stadium card. I love that stadium cards are coming back. For a while, we had Burbank City Gym, and then it's like, well, most decks play a stadium they had Tropical Beach, Burbank, and Sky Arrow Bridge. Those were really your 3 stadiums that were played last season. Now we're getting all sorts of stuff. We got Fairy Garden, we're going to have that Steel Shelter, we got Dimension Valley, and it's very important to have your stadium card out there. So, Dimension Valley, your Psychic Pokemon's attacks cost 1 less. That's pretty cool. I'm sure there's some way to use this at some point. Some crazy combos with Mew EX, I'm sure, will be found. Next card, I am very unhappy that this was reprinted, but here it is, back once again, Enhanced Hammer. Discard a special energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So this is probably going to change the way decks are built. Probably going to change what decks are viable and what decks aren't. And when that's the case, I really think an item card is too strong. Just my personal opinion. For example, the deck I played at Regionals this season, the Aromatisse deck with Rainbow Energy, I don't think it's playable anymore because Enhanced Hammer just discards your Rainbow Energy. And that's a big part of your deck. Think of just discarding Strong Energy, discarding Double Colorless Energy. There's all sorts of situations where Enhanced Hammer is good. We're going to see a lot of this card. We've always seen a lot of this card when it was legal, and it's going to be as strong as ever. We already saw Gengar, Spirit Link. Let's look at the hand scope. Pretty much what it says. You look at your opponent's hand. I'm not sure how useful this card will really be, but it's here. Alright, now on to some very interesting cards. The Team Flare Hyper Gear, Pokemon Tool F. That means Flare, I think. You attach this to one of your opponent's Pokemon. How strange is that? So you can only put this on opposing Pokemon EX, and then the attacks of that Pokemon cost 1 more. Now this is a really cool concept. We've never seen anything like this in the Pokemon TCG, and I think this is a really good card. You just get to attach to one of your opponent's Pokemon EX, and now all of a sudden, your opponent's Seismitoad has to pay an extra energy to attack. This is really good for slowing things down. Think about attaching this to your opponent's Virizion EX. Ooh. Now their Emerald Slash costs 3 energy, and they can't use it till the 3rd turn. That is really, really good. So I do think we'll see this card quite a bit. You can't attach it if your opponent already has a Pokemon tool on it. But, it's just got to beat him to the punch. Or you can play a Startling Megaphone and then attach it. That is your option. Now, this is a lot stronger because Tool Scrapper is no longer in the format. If Tool Scrapper were in here, you could discard them off your own Pokemon, you're fine. But now, to discard tools off your opponent's Pokemon, you have to play Startling Megaphone, which only gets rid of your opponent's tools. Now, if you want to get rid of Headringer, you have to play Tool Retriever, which is not a very good card, but it may become a necessity if Headringer becomes better, or becomes popular. So Headringer, and then there's also Jamming Net. So the attacks of the Pokemon this card is attached to do 20 less damage to all defending Pokemon. So I believe that also includes bench damage. Don't quote me on that, but when it says all defending Pokemon, I would say 20, just minus 20 in general, even if it's to the bench. This is not as useful as the Headringer, I don't think. Minus 20 isn't the most incredible thing in the world, but if it can block a Muscle Band and then also minus 20, you never know. Jamming Net could be good as well. Same restriction, attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon EX. Cool cards. I do like these a lot. Here's one people love to talk about. Lysander's Trump Card. Each player shuffles all cards in his or her discard pile into his or her deck, except for Lysander's Trump Card. So basically, you're starting over. Shuffle all your discarded cards back into your deck, and here we go. I mean, that's a neat concept. We've never really seen anything quite like this. Nothing that would reset the game completely like that. So it is a unique effect. Is it good? No, I don't think so. Why is it not good? Well, you give your opponent all their stuff back, and you use your supporter for the turn to do it. Alright, so let's say, alright, Lysander's Trump Card, And then your opponent's like, oh, cool, I get all my stuff back. And then they get to play like a Juniper first and draw all their good cards back. So for that reason, I don't think Lysander's trump card is very good. But there may be some uses for it. You know, there are some decks that rely on having things in the discard pile. Like a Flareon deck, for instance. If you shuffle in all their Pokemon, they could be very upset. But I really don't think this card is very good. We probably won't see it too much. Maybe as a one-of at the very most. But yeah. Lysander's trump card, cool, but don't think it's great. We have Professor Sycamore, welcome back. It's only been like 3 sets since we've seen you. Robo Substitute, one of the other cool cards in this set. I actually think this is a really powerful card. So, you can put it down at any time. This is very reminiscent of the Clefairy Doll card from base set that had 10 HP. Put it down as a trainer, and it kind of acts like a Pokemon. Except you can't take a prize for it. You read that right? There's an ambulance going by in my place, like happens frequently when I do videos for some reason. I swear it only happens when I do videos. But you cannot take a prize on Robo Substitute. So this is going to be extremely good in that Donphan deck. You put down a Robo Substitute, you spinning turn, you put it out there, and you laugh as your opponent wastes a turn attacking to knock out a trainer card. They have to knock out a trainer card that they can't get a prize for. So yeah, this is going to be very good in those Donphan decks. Otherwise, it's maybe decent to stall for a turn. Also with Gengar EX, I suppose, same concept as Donphan. But yeah, I'm actually not sure how I feel about this card. I feel like it may be a little silly with Donphan out there. Anything that can switch into it. But we'll see. I don't know. Roller Skates and Shauna, welcome back once again. Same as Professor Sycamore, nothing new there. Already saw the Steel Shelter. Here's Target Whistle. So this is reminiscent of, boy, we have a lot of base set effects in this set. Pokemon Flute. Take a Pokemon out of your opponent's discard pile, put it onto their bench. Now, this can be very useful sometimes. You know, say your opponent uses an Execute for propagation, and they're really relying on it, say like an Empoleon deck. They keep using that Execute over and over to use Diving Draw. Now you can Target Whistle, put it on their bench. That can be an easy prize for you. Can also be useful against Jirachi EX, 90 HP. Say your opponent discards it, they don't want you to take the 2 prizes off it. Or maybe you've already knocked it out once, you can bring it back and knock it out again. So there are potential uses for this card. I'm not sure if it'll be playable right at first, but eventually I see this card being good. Tierno, welcome back, I guess. Trick Coin. So, this is very similar to Victini's Victory Star, but now it's in the form of an item. That's it. You get to reflip your coins once for an attack, if you want to. So if there's ever a deck you wanted to play with Garbodor and you also wanted Victory Star Victini, now you can do it. You can add both. There you go. And just for clarification, you may only use effects that let you flip the coins again, including effects from other cards, once during your turn. So no, you can't use both Victini and Trick Coin. Nice try. VS Seeker. This was one of my favorite cards, and it is a very cool card, and it is back. This is a very, very strong card, perhaps one of the most underrated cards of all time. It's an item card, gets you a supporter out of your discard pile, puts it back into your hand. So, if you ever thought 4 ends in a game wasn't enough, now you can do 5, 6, 7, and 8. Thanks to the power of VS Seeker. Now, this would have been much more powerful with Sableye to junk hunt back VS Seeker. But this is still going to be a really good card. Think just VS Seeker for a Lysander for the game. Really good. And if you ever want to play infinitely where nobody decks out, ever, play a Lysander's trump card and a VS Seeker. Nobody will ever deck out since you can just VS Seeker for the Lysander's trump card. Then the VS Seeker gets shuffled back in and then infinite loop. So, yeah, there's that as well. But yeah, VS Seeker, really, really good card. It is hampered a little bit by Seismitoad EX, taking away item cards, but otherwise, very strong card. Should probably see some play. Last one, we have Zerosic. I don't know how to say his name. I'm going with that. Choose a Pokemon, tool, or special energy card attached to a Pokemon in play, yours or your opponent's, and discard it. It's a decent card. Supporter really makes it tough to play, tough to justify when there are items that do pretty much the same thing. But again, with Seismitoad EX in the game, supporter-based effects become more viable. So maybe this has some hope as well. Alright, so that's all the trainers, all the Pokemon EX and such. Now let's get to some stuff that has some potential. Not quite sold on it, but it could be good. First one is going to be Pyroar. Not that other Pyroar. This one has Flare Command. Once during your turn, you can discard a fire energy attached to this Pokemon, and if you do, Pokemon Catcher. So I don't know why Lysander and Pyroar, they look the same, and they both have the same effect, but hey, I won't argue with it. This is going to be a good combo with Blacksmith. You get 2 fire energy out of the discard pile, attach them to your Pyroar, and then you can Lysander whenever you want. So this is a good card that may be used in regular Pyroar decks as a one-of. Otherwise, I am not so convinced it's going to be great. This ability has potential at some point to be good, I just don't know when, but it's important to realize it does exist. Now let's get to the fun stuff. Alright, let's get to the Night March. So, Joltik, and where are you guys? Lampent, and Pumpkaboo. We have the Night Marchers. Okay, so this attack does 20 damage times the number of Pokemon in your discard pile that have the Night March attack. Very similar to the round attack, but this is for each of your Night Marchers in the discard. So, we have 3 different Pokemon with Night March. That means we can play 12 total of them. And if you think back to that Battle Compressor, we can just take 3 of them out of the deck, put them right in the discard, and Night March is ready to go. So if we get 9 of these 12 Pokemon into the discard pile, Night March is doing 180 damage, which is a one-hit knockout. So there is potential for this to do major amounts of damage. It's going to be a little difficult to set up, a little difficult to attack with these things. Pumpkaboo and Joltik are your only reasonable attackers. Using 2 attachments to attack with a 70 HP Lampent isn't going to be good, so he's going to go in the discard pile quite a lot. Then it leaves us with Joltik and Pumpkaboo. You only want to attack with a 30 HP Joltik. So that's the problem here. What do we attack with? Well, there is an option to use Gourgeist. So Gourgeist has Gorgantic. If this Pokemon has any grass energy attached, its maximum HP is 200, which is ridiculous. 200 HP on a non-EX, and then we can combine it with Celebi EX from Boundaries Crossed to use Pumpkaboo's attack. Here we go. So now with a grass, we get 200 HP, and we can use Night March. So this can be a really, really fun deck. Of course, it is completely shut down by Garbodor, but who cares? We're going to have fun with it. Your other option is to use Mew EX to use Night March. Just leave a Pumpkaboo out there and then use the Dimensional Valley Stadium. Make a Night March only cost 2 instead of 3, and then with a double colorless, you can Night March every turn. Alright, so those are your options for the Night March deck. You bet I'm going to try this out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Next card, we have Wobbuffet. So this is a very strong card. I think this is one of the best cards in the set, if you ask me. 110 HP basic, non-EX. The ability, as long as this is your active Pokemon, each Pokemon in play, in each player's hand, and in each player's discard pile has no abilities except for Psychic Pokemon. So basically, nothing has abilities except Psychic Pokemon. This is like a Garbodor when it's active. So, hey, Donphan again. Spinning turn into Wobbuffet, and your opponent has no abilities. Sounds pretty good to me. Wobbuffet and Robo Substitute definitely push the Donphan deck up to the top of the Tier 1 list. I think it might be the strongest deck with this new set. So Wobbuffet, another card to keep in mind. And then last potential goodness in this set I see is Hydreigon. So Dark Impulse takes the darkness energy from your discard pile, attaches to your active Pokemon. There are lots of combos with this. Lots of darkness type Pokemon thrive off of lots of energy. For example, Yveltal EX, Malamar EX, and Darkrai can always Night Spear. And there's plenty of other dark Pokemon out there that can do decent amounts of damage. You don't even have to use dark Pokemon. Anything that uses dark energy or colorless energy, you can use Hydreigon. It is a stage 2, very difficult to set up, but hey, that's a good ability. 140 HP, tough to knock out, crazy headbutt, funny attack name, everything I could want in a Pokemon. Alright, so those are my potential cards. We're going to finish off with the interesting cards that I think are just interesting in some way, shape, or form. First is Venomoth, Dizzying Wind. Whenever your opponent plays a trainer card from his or her hand, your opponent flips a coin. If tails, that card has no effect. And they still discard that card. It's not a good effect, but we haven't seen anything like this since probably Slowking from Neo Genesis or Chaos Gym all the way back then. Those cards were good because you didn't have to attack to get the effect. Dizzying Wind does no damage, so it's bad, but I like creative effects. Yanmega, Surprise Strike, does 50, and then 50 more if it was on your bench and became your active Pokemon this turn. Probably not a great Pokemon, but again, an interesting effect. If it bounces from your bench to the active spot, plus 50 damage. I thought that was kind of neat. And can knock out Seismitoad for 3 energy. So if you really, really need to beat Seismitoad, perhaps Yanmega is actually a decent option. I don't know for sure, but something to keep in mind. Alright, Pachirisu. So, Trick Sticker. The defending Pokemon's weakness is now lightning until the end of your next turn. So that's kind of cool. I'm trying to think. Does this apply before you do the damage? I think so. So then it turns the weakness to lightning. And then I guess the way you could potentially use this is with Vileplume. It's kind of silly, but the Vileplume that gives you ×4 weakness, I guess with the Silver Bangle, then you can hit for, it'll do 40 × 4. It's still only 160, but it could be a fun deck to work with. Trick Sticker, don't see any mechanics like this very often. So another card I wanted to point out. Then we have Golbat and Crobat. So Golbat and Crobat have very similar abilities. Sneaky Bite and Surprise Bite. Sneaky and Surprise. These bats are sneaking around biting people. Alright, so Sneaky Bite. This is very similar. Man, they're really bringing back a lot of old mechanics. Very similar to Dark Golbat and Dark Crobat, all the way back from the Wizards of the Coast days. Sneaky Bite, put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon when you evolve into Golbat. Surprise Bite, put 3 damage counters when you evolve into Crobat. I don't think these cards are very good. 2 and 3 damage counters just aren't what they used to be. Think of how many Crobats you would have to use just to knock out a single Landorus EX. It is 6. That should tell you how good this is. Not very. But, again, an interesting effect. Now, game-breaking mechanics. Here we go. Fainting Spell. Oh, man. People used to love this with Gengar from Stormfront. So, if this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you get to flip a coin, and if it's heads, you take them down with you. So, this could actually be relevant at some point if, we enter some weird part in the metagame where, I don't know, a Pokemon EX knocks you out, you flip heads on a Fainting Spell, and you get to take 2 prizes. Not going to be very good. It's a stage 2. They just aren't that good these days. Curse Drop, it's a decent attack, not enough to really get the job done. Garbodor exists. Hypnotoxic Laser exists to get around this effect. I don't see Chandelure being great, but again, we're just looking at interesting cards. And when I think interesting, I think fun stuff. Let's look at some fun attack names. Honchkrow, Nightmare Mambo. I'm not sure what that is. Do the Nightmare Mambo. It's not good. Just attack names. Spiritomb has a very cool attack name. B Cancel. Stops your opponent's Pokemon from evolving. I assume that's a reference to the video game where if your Pokemon's evolving, you push B to stop it from evolving. So, stops them from evolving. So, B Cancel. Okay. Next, we have Slurpuff. So, Slurpuff lets you draw an extra card, and then if it's your active Pokemon, you draw another card. So, it might not seem like much, but drawing 1 or 2 extra cards in a turn can actually be very useful. And getting it active is going to be the tough part. But, I don't know, maybe this could see play in a Fairy deck at some point. You know, after a Pokemon gets knocked out, you promote it, you draw 2 cards, and then a Fairy Garden would give it a free retreat. This would work in like an Aromatisse deck, perhaps. Maybe it's just not strong enough to be playable. I wish it would draw 3 cards if it were active. Then it might become much better, but 2 cards just doesn't seem like enough to justify playing it. I don't know. We also have Goodra. So Goodra has Slip Trip. Nobody can play Pokemon tools. So this card, we actually thought we were going to get this last year, and we didn't. This is obviously a great counter to Garbodor. If your deck is extremely reliant on Pokemon tools, or not Pokemon tools, if your deck is extremely reliant on abilities, you can stop your opponent from ever playing another tool onto a Garbodor, and make sure you always have your abilities. But now, it's a Stage 2 in a format where Stage 2s are too difficult to get into play. So I don't see Goodra being very playable at this point, but man, I really wish it were, just to have something to keep Garbodor in check, since it seems like it shuts down so many good concepts. But, who knows, maybe somebody will make use of that. And let's see, our last interesting card here is Mystery Energy. Ooh, it's a mystery. Basically gives your Psychic Pokemon 2 less retreat if you have it attached. This isn't great. You know, the -2 retreat really isn't great by any means. I don't really know why you would play it, especially now that Enhanced Hammer is back. There's no real reason to play this over regular Psychic Energy. Most Psychic Pokemon don't have too heavy of a retreat cost, and most Psychic Pokemon you're going to attack with. So, I don't know. Maybe there will be a use for this, but I don't think so. Okay. And now we're going to get to the beautiful full art cards. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 full art cards, and then 2 secret rare gold megas, as is the trend. Alright, number 1 is Manectric EX. It's alright. It's not bad. It's a Manectric. Got some lightning bolts shooting out here. And this thing probably indicates that he is probably running very quickly. But that's about it. Not too overwhelmed by Manectric. Gengar. Alright, he looks pretty cool. Gengar is one of the coolest Pokemon, I think. Always looks a little evil. Got the evil eyes going and the big smile. You know, he's a creepy guy. And then I've heard that these are actually blood cells swirling around. They might look like jelly beans, but they are probably blood cells for some reason. I don't really know what they are. But yeah, I do like this card. Looks pretty cool. Next is Malamar EX. Talk about creepy cards. This is one creepy looking dude. He is staring right into your soul. I don't even want to look at that anymore. Let's look at Florges. And actually, this card is beautiful. I think it is a beautiful card. Lots of stuff going on here. Just a very pretty card. And that's probably the only nice thing I'll say about Florges EX. It's just a very nice looking card. Now we got our full art supporters as real. He doesn't look very happy. Looks kind of worn down. Got a very small Pokeball in his hand. It hasn't blown up quite yet. Or maybe he's just that big, where a Pokeball looks that little in his hands. But Yeah, he's got a key around his neck. That's Az for you. Lysander's trump card. Oh yeah, he's pulling out all the high-tech gear. If you play the video game, you've probably seen this stuff. All the crazy stuff coming out. So, not sure how this is trump card unless this is kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Right here. It's actually kind of what it looks like. Lysander must be a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player. That's what I think. And then Zero Sick. He's got a glove in his pocket, saying something. It actually looks like the singer Psy, I think. If you want to take a look at a picture of that, the Korean singer Psy. Very similar, and it looks like he's kind of singing. So he's got like a thing here, could be a microphone. So I'm going to go with that. He's actually Psy in disguise. Alright, so our Mega Pokemon, Mega Manectric, it's the same art. Let me just verify that. Let's go up here. Manectric. And yep, Manectric and Manectric. Same thing. One is gold, one is not. That's the difference. Gold, regular. Same for Gengar. Gold. I'm not a fan of these. I think it's kind of lazy. I really wish that they were like the Japanese ones. So the Japanese regular megas have the English text here. And then the secret rare ones actually have it in Japanese. So I would like if the regular megas for the English print have the Japanese, and then the gold one have the English attack name right there. I think that would be an improvement. But looks like that's not happening. And the last card, I think this is the coolest card, Full Metal Dialga EX. Alright, now this is a secret rare, it's a full art. I think this is awesome. Dialga, one of my favorite Pokemon. It is just really cool looking. It's much better than the Zekrom and Reshiram of pure gold, I think. I don't know why, but I just think it is. This is going to be a cool looking card. Seeing it on the computer screen probably doesn't do it much justice, but if you get this card in your hands, it's going to be beautiful. So, alright, there it is, my set review for Phantom Forces. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned a little bit of something. If there's any cards I overlooked, forgot to talk about, cards you think are really good or really interesting, feel free to leave some comments. Let me know exactly where I went wrong. But I think I covered a lot of stuff in this set. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will certainly have some more for you soon. I am Pooka from the Top Cut, and I will see you guys next time.